Questions that you want to pose as well. Bar's going to be open throughout the night, so feel free to get up and grab yourself a drink. Let's make it a good night, because obviously we all want the best for the football club. So I will step to one side, and first of all, before we get going, I want to introduce one gentleman who we're very pleased and happy to have on our panel this evening, who has joined us. Just to say a few words as we begin. Andy Pearson is Harrogate's dedicated football officer. So, Andy, I know you've just got a few words that you would like to start with, please.
Is the mic?
That should be on.
Can everyone hear me? You can. I'm going to keep this quick. I'm not a Harrogate fan, I'm a Liverpool fan. We're going through a terrible time and I want to watch the football tonight. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for letting me come and speak to you. I am your dedicated football officer. Bit about me, I work for North Yorkshire Police. I've worked for North Yorkshire Police for about 17 years, predominantly frontline policing. And on the side of that, I've flirted with football. I started with York, and then currently with Harrogate. I also deal with Scarborough as well, unfortunately. A dedicated football officer, so we are in a league where legislation applies, and many of my roles, one of those roles is to keep an eye on making sure that legislation is enforced. Okay. But first of all, before I go on about the negative stuff, a thank you to you guys really, because you make my role absolutely heaven. I don't lose any sleep. We have a very, very good fan base, which when I go through my role, you can understand how that helps me greatly. So pat on the back. I don't lose an hour's sleep about you guys, and it's a pleasure to tell a team that we're going to that you guys are absolutely fine. So, at the start of every season, myself and my commanders sit down and we go through the whole season, and we appoint a category to that game. So it could be police free, it could be just myself and my colleague, it could be low, a few more cops, up to a few more cops, and then up to quite a lot of cops outside, which is a high. We don't have highs. We have one or two lows, pretty much down to your behaviour, which I say is excellent, and the visiting teams. Okay. As I said, my other parts of the role are to liaise closely with several members of staff at the club, and to keep an eye on certain individuals that are brought to my attention, home and away, which I do by liaising with forces that come here. Every game this season, last season, and hopefully future seasons, we have a minimum of 2 officers at home games. We're dressed in blue and yellow, you can't miss us. We're probably stood eating or having a coffee or on our phones or whatever, something embarrassing, but we're there and we're to be approached whenever we can. A couple of offences that we need to keep an eye on, racial and homophobic chanting, throwing off any missile, fighting, assaults, verbal assaults on staff, and we are there to keep an eye on certain individuals. We're not there to eject, that's the club's responsibility, but we are there just to keep an eye. Whilst we're in the ground, the real only time we would get involved is if it went horribly wrong, and it hasn't done in my experience. Okay. Any questions? Do you see police officers on a Saturday and a Tuesday night? Yeah. Are you happy with them? Do you feel comfortable out there in the ground? Yeah, good. That is really it. At any point we can be pulled away from the ground. We are short around the county, and like I said, at any point we can be pulled away. But it's my passion really that I want us in the ground every game, because I get to see you guys, I get to deal with the club, I get to be there for the players. Not specifically the players for Harrogate, but some other players around the league can be targeted via email and social media. So I'm there to support them. We're at a time, unfortunately, where offences in respect to football are at the highest they've ever been. So if you think back to like the 1980s, they're higher. So it's a dirty world at the moment, but we're trying to deal with it. Any time we're there on a Saturday, just come and speak to us, and we'll listen to you. If you just want to have a chat with us about anything, we'll be there. And that is really it. So I'm going to hand this mic on to Abby. Is that right, Abby?
No, it's all right, but thank you, Andy.
Good, yeah.
Andy, thank you very much. So, Andy Pearson, ladies and gents, Harrogate's delegated football officer. Appreciate that, Andy. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gents, my name's Pete from your Harrogate. I'm going to be the one dashing out to you. Put your hands up as we go through the night with your questions. Good work, little lady. Yes, that's how we do it. Putting our hands up to ask the questions, and our panel, I'm sure plenty of you will know all these guys and girls, but just down to my left here we have Hamill Mattock, or if he's in trouble, Hamilton, our fan engagement manager. Also we've got Abby Smith, who is the football secretary and matchday operations. I think you might recognise the man in the middle, or the men in the middle, Mr. Simon Weaver, first team manager. Irving Weaver, chairman of Harrogate Town Football Club. Sarah Barry, who is the chief executive officer. And we have Ian Service here tonight, the head of the Community Foundation. Ladies and gents, put your hands together for our panel. So without further ado, is there anybody who would like to go first, or would you like me to ask a question off the sheets? I will turn it down. I will turn it down, or I'll whisper like this. We'll start with a question on the sheet. This is from Paul. A couple of questions, and he says, do Harrogate envisage changing kickoff times in an effort to cut down on expenditure regarding floodlights? Because, of course, we've seen this happen with a number of clubs. Discussions have taken place, certainly with the non-league. So, who would like to answer this out of our panel? Sarah?
I'm going to have to move quicker than that. Yeah, I'll answer that one. We actually had a meeting at the EFL last week, I think it was, and this came up. A couple of the clubs are trialling it at the moment and have already deduced that the pluses don't outweigh the negatives. You know, if you've got young families, young sort of children that are already doing activities and playing football themselves quite often on a Saturday morning, trying to get to the game for a 1 o'clock kick-off every single week is not proving to be the right, the right way forward for them. So yeah, you might save a few quid on the old, lucky bill, but it's not, in terms of fan experience, match day experience and logistics of growing your fan base, that hasn't gone down too well, and that those clubs was, I think it's Mansfield that were trialling it. Bradford City have done a survey as well with their, I think 5,000 of their supporters took part, and we're happy to share that. So it's not really something that I think will go down, certainly at the moment.
Also, Sarah, on Paul's email that you sent in, he said, any news on a bar and a social area, because I'm fed up with the guys near me saying that we're a sponsored brewery and you can't get a pint. So what's the latest?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I will just say this now. I share your frustration on this, I really do. I had a look at this in prep for the meeting last night, just to see for my own sanity when we started working on this, and I think I joined in middle of September last year. We started drawing up plans the following month, and we submitted planning. We haven't sat on this. We literally got planning permission on the 6th of September. That's how long it's taken. And I don't want to point the finger. I certainly don't want to be, I understand there are pressures, short-staffed, whatever you want. We're a football club. Everything takes longer. So we have had planning permission, but it came through on the 6th of September. By the time we got planning permission, unfortunately for us, and this is how it rocks, we can't get the building slot that we had hoped. So we hoped to have a bar up and running at the start of this season. So the earliest we can have something built was going to be February of next year. Now the season nearly ends. So what we have done, and I'm absolutely delighted to say, we've just had permission to have a temporary bar put up, which we are going to be installing as quickly as possible. So we still have to go through our safety advisory group and all the various compliances. We're talking a matter of a couple of weeks before that bar's up. And I'm also delighted to say we are also turning another part of the ground into a home supporters bar as well, that isn't going to take too long. So I don't want you to hold me to this because I'm not a builder. It could be anything between some of yours know what that means, giggles. You get anything from 8 to 10 weeks, and then that turns into 10 to 12 weeks. But the point being is, we'll before the end of the season, we'll certainly have a temporary bar coming imminently, and then we'll hope to have the second bar. I'd love to say around Christmas, but don't hold me to that one because we've still got to go through a few hoops. But that's pretty straightforward, is that one? I think that answers that question, hopefully.
Yes, sir. There you go.
Mine's much more of a general point, and I just wonder if, Chairman, you wouldn't mind just giving us your view of the highlights of the season, how things are going within the club generally.
Well, that's a decent question. I won't say there's too many highlights on the pitch at the moment, as we all know we're having a tough time. So that's a difficult one. You've been down on crowd as well, so that's not a highlight. You've asked me a really difficult one to be realistic. Yeah, I really think we've got longer to go to give us some highlights through the season. It's been a tough time. It's been a tough time all round. We just heard Sarah on the hospitality front for some spectators. Everything on planning has been delayed. Yeah, we need to be racking up the points, and no doubt there'll be a lot of discussion on that tonight, and we're open for questions.
No, really. Well, thank you. I mean, it's not intended as a pointed question. I just think I think the club does an amazing job and has been brilliant over the years. Has done a huge amount for the town and the community. And yeah, the results aren't brilliant this season, but I hope that the club will still feel the value that it brings to the town, in the community, and the great enjoyment that it brings to people coming to the game on a Saturday. And I hope nobody is going to get terribly down about the season, because I think this is a very special club, and the relationship, Chairman, with Simon, that's very special, and I hope that will always remain.
You probably hit a spot there where what I do know is that the feeling in the camp hasn't dipped. Everybody can be worried and concerned, but togetherness is really on the board. We have no hidden agendas with each other. Everybody's striving, working hard. Players are working hard. We'll come on to detail, I'm sure, with Simon on that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, and thank you, Irving, as well. Right, ladies and gents, put your hands up as you go, or I've got the questions that we can go to on the sheet. So, another one, this one for you actually, Simon, that's coming from Paul. He says, would Town change the starting striker in view of the lack of goals so far this season?
I guess he means Luke Armstrong.
I thought, well, yeah. He's not putting names, but...
Well, no one can be in a position at any club, and ours is the same, where they're undroppable. But for me, I have a really good relationship with Luke. I respect him as a player. I think now's the time in tough spells where you learn more about people than in really good times. And I feel that Luke is my Harry Kane, like Harry Kane is to Gareth Southgate. He has droughts. He has spells where you think, oh, we'd love him to score. He'd love to score. He takes a physical battering for the team, like Kane does at the highest level. But there's goals in there, and there's a real player in there. And sometimes confidence takes a dip and you either take them out or you pat them on the back and put an arm around the shoulder. He's been given the first couple of days off this week to have some respite and then come out fighting because we all know what he is capable of. So I'm backing him, but don't be kidded by anything. That no player signs any contract where they're guaranteed a spot. I just feel the lad needs backing.
Well, Paul does add on his email. I would just like to finish by adding my support and praise to town, especially you, Simon, and the management, who I know are trying their damn best for the club. So thank you, Paul, for sending it in. This one might be for you, I think, Ian, actually. Question, could the club shop, or has there been consideration for the club shop on Commercial Street to be relocated to a more central and a more accessible area of town? Would that be one for Ian, or would somebody else on the panel like to answer that?
Ian's looking at me. Can answer that if you want, but I might. I think we've got Claire, you're at the back, Claire, who is our retail manager. I think would say this, we have talked about it, we did consider it, but we like it there, and actually it does work, and under the shop we've got a lovely office space. We've actually got a really nice setup there, and much needed office space, storage space, and it's not that far out of town, so the answer to that is probably not. In terms of what value we get, you know what Harrogate's like, rateable value, the win would just not be, it just wouldn't be worth it. In terms of what, we've got a really nice community, Claire, as well, I think I should add, shouldn't I, in terms of, yeah.
I'll give you the mic. Do you not want the mic, Claire? Alright.
Parking outside, you say, but also, and I do think this is important, and this does affect you, Ian, because you are community, you are the hearts and minds, but we actually bring a lot to that street, and a lot of the independent shops have said that by having us on the street, we've actually brought so much more footfall for the other businesses on there, and they often all the traders and Claire, we get together. And it's become a really nice community within itself, so we do like it there.
I know, just while Ian's got the mic, actually, Ian, the news today, which was really good to see, the defib being installed as well. Just a few words about that.
Yeah, I was going to add that. So a massive thank you to the supporters and everyone who donated. We did a match-worn shirt auction, so thanks to the first team for donating the shirts. That was probably about a year ago, and we've got the funds. We installed the defibrillator, external cabinet, so it's public use, public access, and that's on Commercial Street by the cheese board. And it's something we're really proud of because that's our legacy. It's something that will hopefully save someone's life on Commercial Street, on the street where our retail unit is. As Claire mentioned, as Sarah mentioned, the shops on that street are just really supportive of what we bring. We do feel really connected to that community, and and that's something, a little small something that we can give back. So I'm really pleased to get that over the line, and long may it continue. And it's great to be there in the town centre and speak to people going by, and they see the club badge, and we can have a conversation with them, and the team are so passionate who are there. So long may it continue.
Ladies and gents, do feel free, hands up with any questions. I'll come to you straight away with the microphone. Yes, sir. Fantastic. There you go.
There's a question. It's a question for Simon. Now, it's about the team playing, right? Now, what I've noticed, and a lot of fans have noticed, is they're not taking enough pot shots from outside the box. A lot of teams do that. You see it on telly, beat two players, and they have a shot at goal. We aren't. We're passing to the next player, then the next player, and then we lose it. I just thought it might be a way of scoring more goals, because we're not scoring goals, and we need to score. I was looking at when we played Sutton, I think they had about 25 shots from outside the box. We had 5, and they beat us. And so did Barrow as well. And I just wondered if it might make a difference if you can get players to sort of have more shots at goal, like Patterson's good at it, and Diamond was. But not the other players. And I think, I mean, it might get a ricochet or go over the bar around the post, but you catch them by down the ways, don't you? But if you're not doing it, you're not having shots at goal, you're not going to score goals, are you?
No, you're
So
absolutely right.
maybe if we did that, maybe against Hartlepool, see how it goes. It might work, but it might.
I'll pass it on, yeah. No, don't pass it on.
Shoot, everybody shouting, shoot. Ladies and gents, any more hands up? Go back to the emails that I've got. Yes, sir.
Just a question for the chairman. Obviously, the club has been reliant on a significant amount of funding from yourself. Is that something that you envisage continuing having to make over the next 2-3 years, or do you see a path to the club being able to sustain itself? And one other, if I could, I don't mean to be negative at all, but how much of a potential hit would it be to the club financially if the worst was to happen and we drop down to the National League?
First question, I speak to every chairman when we go away matches, and one of the biggest pluses is they want to talk about football management and football business, so pick up a lot. Sarah, you're with it amongst it as well. And one of the biggest angst of football, never mind Harrogate Town, across the pyramid of 72 clubs. I don't know if anybody's aware of the fan-led review with MP Tracy Crouch, white paper in Parliament, but that's a big move looking for 23-24 season. And it covers the point exactly that the stats are given from every club on a regular basis, cash flows, profit and loss, balance sheet, inputs from outside sources on loans or share input or reserves. They know everything about 72 clubs. If I say to you the Championship club average losses was 16 million last season. League 1 and League 2, obviously far less, but nothing adds up unless you get on a cup run. There is a kind of a salary cap, but that can be penetrated by further funding, which puts then possibly you get a very situation. So it's a real problem across the board. My own opinion is, and we work very hard on finance, is to drive it and drive it and drive it from whatever avenue of resource there is into a sustainable situation. If this fan-led review gets through Parliament and they become a statutory regulator, then what it will involve is a smoothing of the pyramid. So the parachute payments to Championship from Premier League, which are around about 250 million for 3 clubs over 3 years. So you've always got 9 clubs, unless they go straight back up, you might have 7 or 6. Completely distorts the whole pyramid. And until that's sorted, and there is a move from Premier to acknowledge it, it's just, it's taking a horse to water and making it drink. And it is a problem, because it's self-preservation for each league. One of the questions I got asked is, well, don't kill the golden goose. The income from media for the Premier League over the 3-year deal, last deal, was £4.4 billion between 20 clubs. 18 clubs. 20 clubs. The EFL, on 72 clubs, their media rights was 400 million over 3 years. The distortion and the pyramid, the Premier League feed off the pyramid, they feed off players. If you had a restriction so that nobody could enter, there was no promotion relegation, damage to that Premier League would be obvious. So there is a move to bring more money through the pyramids, to make clubs sustainable. Out of that money I've just mentioned, round about £1 million a club per season. So that's only £24 million out of all that to put League 2 right. It's more in League 1 and it's a huge amount in Championship. So it's a common problem. Nobody wants to be throwing money up into the ether. And there has to be caps on players. caps of some nature, otherwise it'll just go straight through. I'll just give you one, and I'm sorry if I bore you this, but I've lived this project for a while. If you took last year's 5% of football agents for foreign players going now to foreign agents, that 5% on Premier League players is £196 million, just to put it into context. So there is real drive, and there is some positive reaction. If it goes through Parliament and there's a regulator, it'll be imposed. I can't believe the Premier League will want that, but that will bring them to the table. Problem with the Premier League, it needs 14 clubs to vote for a change. So it's very difficult to get that through. But there has been a lot of hard work, and it's been done by Rick Parry, who's the chairman of the EFL. So, and the second point was, I've said so much, I've forgotten what the second point is. If you got relegated, I think every club would struggle from a relegation, from a financial point of view, and that would pull back on the expenditure. There is a parachute payment from League to National League. It's a one-year one. So for this first year would soften where you sit in your salaries on players, and then the second year you'd have to use that first year to sort it out. But we've got to think positively. Yes, 2 clubs have got to go down, but we'll come on to that in a bit.
Position as manager under review, or is the father-son relationship more important than staying in the Football League?
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Just a nice gentle start, just to get us back into things, get the ball rolling.
Now, I think we've got Edward in here tonight, haven't we? Edward?
He's just been down to the toilet.
Well, I can't let him have an easier time than that. I'll have to get him back in.
I'll find it out.
I think I was going to ask him how long he'd been a supporter of Harrogate Town, because there's some history now in 14 years and 12 for me, and I just want to know if you've got that experience through. So
Should we wait for Edward to come back? We'll wait for Edward. And I know, what I will do, ladies and gents, is this Edward coming back in? Right, here we go. Edward, you're on, sir.
Thank you.
I bet.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Edward, how do you do? I've not met before, and I'm pleased you're here tonight. And when I got the question, that's not unexpected. This has been a unique situation in football, which was always very difficult and awkward. It was done in circumstances that was either the club really went backwards, Bill retiring, or we tried to make something of it. And I always said that was a linkage that was strong, and if it failed together. As it happens, can I just ask you how long you supported the club?
I've been coming for 4 seasons.
4
5
seasons.
seasons.
Right.
Well, I did come back sort of when Mark Smith was playing, which would have been early 2000s, but regularly for 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah. The reason I ask you is that how many bumps in the road we've been through, and whether you had the knowledge of the early days and the struggles and the strifes and circumstances like this where we've had bad runs and situations that we've managed to grab through. And it's a two-way answer, really. It could be, what am I going to do? Am I going to sacrifice the EFL for my son's job? Or what about, is Simon Weaver happy to hang around if we can't resource and we can't build a crowd and all the rest of it? So it's, and I've never disclosed this, and he doesn't know I'm going to say it now, but a couple of years ago, well, even until last year, and still into contact, Simon's had a couple of offers because of the success he's brought to the club, and everybody knows where it's at as a small club. One was Championship, and they talked to us for a long time. Not that we've ever got anything discussed, they just wanted us to come down to the club meeting, and we've not done that. And 6 weeks ago, our League 2 club actually went direct to, without any protocol of coming to chairman, and made an offer to Simon to join them. But Simon's response was, we've got unfinished business, we've got something going off here, we're going to dig deep, we've earned the right to have a go at this league, And that was his response. So it is a two-way situation, and not necessarily at this point in time in October, we're thinking on and off the field that we're not up for a scrap. So the question's a bit early, and we're intending to scrap this thing through, as we have done over the last, well, Simon 14 and my 12 years. So it's a relevant question, but not quite at the moment, and just to give you the backcloth to it all, is that we are scrappers, and we could see. Let me just tell you 3 club experiences that I've come across recently, and you'll know of one of them. Rotherham United is back near my own town of Doncaster, and they run the club. We talked about Exeter. Well, Rotherham, Tony Stewart, electrical contractor, successful, built a new club at Rotherham, new ground, 10,000 capacity, and persuaded his captain, Paul Ward, to be a manager. He didn't want the job. Super lad. He came pre-season last year. And I've got pals that are fans of Rotherham. So they managed to get success into the championship. So he curbed the level, so they were the cheapest paid players, and they understood that they couldn't really live with the championship. So they got relegated. The fans knew it. He's very exposed to the fans and explained this is punching above our weight. So they came back down. They went back up again with Paul Ward. They came back down. They went back up again. And Paul's now left Tony Stewart because he couldn't take the club any further. That's fair enough for his career. And he's gone to Derby County. Funny enough, they're in League One now, but they're a bigger club. And that's just an example. And it's how managers and chairmen have a great relationship, but they work it out together for the benefit of the fans. And the fans' attendance has never dropped because they knew exactly what the club were trying to do was not to bankrupt the club, not to bankrupt Tony, and to live within their means. And that was a great example. That's a live example this last month. Another example is Stockport. Everybody's talking about Stockport County, big club. There's 7,800 in the crowd when we played them. They're a new setup, a new investor, and he was super. And he wanted to know all about Harrogate Town, and he wanted to know how we managed to get this far. But on the day, we drew with them. It's been, we've had 1 or 2 games where we've come out the wrong end, just in the last minutes. But this was a good match. We dug in, and that was a bit of a sign we could do this. But that 7,800, the proceeds was £105,000 against our 24,000, mid-20s. So that's their leg up straight away, never mind him being a wealthy investor. But he turned around and said, yeah, all these League One players were just signed because they were bringing players in from an upper league. And quite rightly, he could fill that ground and get 20,000 with their history. So they're not chasing shadows, they're chasing where it's reality. He said, can't get them to play. They're not playing together. They bought a whole new team. And then we move on to Nottingham Forest and Steve Cooper. And here's an example again. Fantastic. He went in there last Christmas. He's been there 9 months. He took them from 19th into promotion for the Premier League. Fantastic football. They spent £145 million on 22 new players. They can't buy a wing. He's got 5 points out of 9 games. And what have the club done? Just given him a 3-year contract. And that's unusual in football. Salford are paying 4 managers off at the moment. So there's your contrast. And that kind of gives you an implied answer, rather than being we're not going there. But that's where we're made of, is we're going to graph this. I can guarantee that.
Thanks for your answer, Irvin. To be honest, my question wasn't sort of meant to be negative in any way. I just thought it's a valid point to ask if sort of a business that's perhaps, as a businessman, maybe not achieving the results that it wants. My personal opinion is integrating 16 new players into Harrogate Town is not going to happen overnight. And I think the answer that you've given is exactly what I would have expected to hear. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And honestly, don't know me, ladies and gents. We don't expect you to apologise for any questions tonight. That's what the panel are here for. That's why the club have laid on this fans forum. It really is open doors. If you can just bear with 1 second, sir, because I've just got one for you, Simon, just on the sheet. Obviously, thank you, Irving, for a fantastic answer. I've got another one on the email that's come in, basically pointing out the tough start you've had and the poor start, asking, do you believe that you are the person to improve results and take the club forward, and if so, why?
Oh yes, yeah, I do. Because I've got a lot of experience of ups and downs, you know, and I know the area. I know that I've dealt with a lot of people over the last 14 years, and everybody's motivated differently, and you can't just pigeonhole people, and you've got to read the signs for people who are maybe have had the confidence in their mind. It's not just been all right with glory, 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 you know, for years and in a straight line. And so I can lead into experience of troubled times as well. And what we're doing now is trying to lift the players, just trying to get them really focused into quieting down all the noise around being a footballer. And a young footballer of 20, obviously, is busy on the phones, you know, scrolls Facebook, scrolls all the social media channels, but doing that, they have to be prepared to take the negatives, and I'm trying to advise them to stay away from that, you know, and focus on their football. But that takes time, it takes preparation, it takes the psychological aspects. They have to be the fittest they can possibly be. We're trying to up the fitness levels. We're trying to keep the game plan, you know, as simple and as concise as possible. And we're trying to get the atmosphere up. One thing we put in place on Monday, I just said, look, it's not punishment, but in the T area we've got a small training ground where we're training local juniors. It's their club, we train there. We've got changing rooms, small changing rooms, and we've got a tea room that we've got a table on, or third one on I, and then the players come in drips and drabs. I said, there's no phones now. You know, phones are left in the bags. This is the workplace, and it's time to engage with each other. Because there was a time, and it's a society thing. It's not just our club, and we haven't got bad lads at all. No one comes from an equal place at all. But it was quiet, and a lot of probably shy lads as well. Take comfort by going, this isn't my phone, by the way. This is my dad's. Scrolling it and seek a bit of solace. And I've got my friend here, my phone. And so it's a society problem because people aren't engaging as much and are going away from conversation. And I thought, might not win many friends to start with, but you know, this families come first. And so if they need to make a call, they can do. It's not punishment. We've got a darts board, we've got a pool table come in. This is all about trying to build an atmosphere quickly instead of just coming in, you know, sloppily with the phones, and suddenly they're out training. Before you know it, that day's gone and not really talked. Already the volume in the room changed yesterday. Quite immediately, it was really obvious. And we're hoping the young lads do settle. Everybody needs everybody, you know, in our changing room. And we don't want to get to January and lots of changes then. There's the worry of that from a player. There's the worry of me needing to do that. But what we want to do is work with people and get the best out of people and start making other good players and other teams look average again, because the intensity's up there and because the desire to help each other and because the purpose is there and the understanding of what it's taken us to go through the leagues as the underdogs, the league below, you know, where we were looking quite daunted in that first year at the list of fixtures, to then basically bypass that level through attitude and legs and honesty. We need to get back to that. But as I say, I think we can tap into these lads and leaving the experience of the older ones like Rory McCart or Josh Falconer, who we were missing in the early parts of the season. Right? We missed Rory in the first few weeks, and you know, they can help the young lads, and they can help them even more. You know, because there's some fixtures now where we really want to attack.
Just touch on another possible elephant in the room, which is stewarding. Not really had any great problems myself, other than to feel a little bit like a criminal bringing my rucksack with a water bottle and then banana in. I know a lot of other people have anecdotal evidence, and our police officer said, do you have any problems with the police? And I think most people would say no. If you ask the same question about the stewards, I think you do get a lot of answers.
Just clarify what the question is, just so I can...
Are the club aware of problems between
Yeah.
stewards and supporters, and are there any changes proposed? Because I think people think that they are quite heavy-handed.
Yeah, we are aware, because obviously we have an open, communication with our supporters. I suppose there's two aspects really. If there's specific incidents, then we deal with that specific incident, in a timely fashion. And if it's a more generalised, observation, as you've just rightly pointed out, it's not you specific. We deal with every single inquiry, or if we get a complaint, if we get a call, we deal with it straight away, immediately. It's the stuff that we don't know about. If we don't know about it, we can't deal with it.
What's the forum for people to pass those comments?
Well, we have obviously myself. All our contact details are on the website. We've now got a fan engagement manager in Howell as well. Any member of the team, if it's on the day, we've got 4 fantastic supporter liaison officers as well as our safety team. So, if it's something more specific, then we will look into it. If it's generally, and we have, let's just head it to the past now. We have incidents that are happening now that in the old days in the National League we wouldn't have to deal with, and that is, I think Andy explained in the sort of opening comments about there's just certain things that happen in a league, football, EFL stadium, that can't happen when you're outside the league. And it's as simple as that. So, for example, we've been criticised for heavy-handedness. It's subjective, some of this stuff. I think Andy's going to add to it by the looks of it. He's got the mic. I don't want to go too heavy with it because, and I don't think it's appropriate for us to go specifics into any individual cases. One, there might be in the room, and I wouldn't want that. 2, there might be things that were sensitive because we're still dealing with. But I'll let you to that.
Just really quickly, you may disagree, but from what I've seen historically, not just with this club and others, the stewarding is from my personal point of view, and from the statutory members of the safety advisory group, probably from our point of view, the best it's been. I'm the liaison with the club. I don't know anything. They're identifying the correct persons that need identifying. They are ejecting for offences that are relevant to be ejected for, and passing them on to us. There was an excellent flow of information. So I respect what you have to say, but from a police and a SAG point of view, like I said, I go to bed very easily on the night. I don't worry about Harrogate, I don't worry about York, I don't worry about Scarborough. We're in a very safe environment. But if you see something you don't like, you have to let the club know. I call it the new regime, this new Harrogate I kind of work with now is, for me, safety-wise, the best it's ever been. And that's down to who's come in and the club and us all working together, because I don't know, before I leave, I had a relationship like this with the police. My previous, there you go. Yeah. Which brings me on to the overall umbrella thought of that. You're in a league now where, Sarah's touched on it, legislation applies. The stewards have to act, because if they don't act, the fans are watching them, the media is watching them, we're watching them, and their owners are watching them. If we don't act, and that gets back to the FA and the AFL, these guys are going to get it. We don't want these to get it because they've got enough to deal with. So I think we're doing all right. But if you've got prolonged problems, you've got to let us know. We'll all talk together and we'll sort it out. But
closing chance. Abby.
I think it's just key to add, obviously, to all this is, with being in the league, there is a lot of EFL and FA regulations that we have to follow by. There's a lot of rules that didn't apply in National League to what they do now in terms of ejections, etc. There's a new EFL initiative out there with the FA and the Premier League in terms of any missiles, entering the pitch, smoke bombs, drug use, discriminatory behaviour, that we have to report that and we have to do something about it. If not, it does go in a referee report. Referees do reports at the end of a game. I do a report at the end of the game that goes to the FL. And if there is anything at all on there, we get questioned and I have to write statements. You have to give detailed reports as to what you've done, and if you haven't done something about it, the club can get sanctioned. There's a few examples of clubs who have been sanctioned recently. You've got Port Vale, they got sanctioned £15,000. Huddersfield was £70,000 and Everton was £300,000. So that is the level of the sanctions that we as a club can get if we don't do something about things. Just to put it into context for you. But yeah, as Sarah and Andy has both said, obviously if there is something on a match day, we would rather know. We'd rather know then so we can try and deal with it. We work very closely with the safety officer and the police, and all decisions are made together and not separate.
I appreciate bringing it up as well, so thank you, because actually we had one on email flagging a situation that I think you guys are aware of at the Bradford City game, where some fans felt that the stewards' handling of town fans was a little bit harsher towards them rather than some things that they saw with Bradford. But I know, as you've explained, Sarah, discussions are ongoing. Abby, whilst you've got the mic, there's a question with regards to the ladies setup, saying, looking at the FA 4-year strategy for women and girls football, which was set out to inspire positive change and create a sustainable future for ladies football, what have the club done so far in the last couple of years, and what will they be doing by 2024 in regards to both the grassroots side of things and also the schools?
Obviously I can only really comment on, I've only been here a season. Last year, in terms of the ladies side, I was just a player. It's only been this year that I've really kind of taken control over it and trying to push it as best I can. I have put together sort of a business plan to do with the FA strategy. There's things such as early participation that's in there that they cover, and for me, our PDC is key. It's key to us right now. For the girls' PDC, I want to see that grow. That's our pathway. I want them to have a pathway from under-7s all the way to our first team. Right now, there's a gap between under-15s and the first team. That's something I want to bridge, because for an under-15s to go to first team level, it's a big jump. So hopefully over the next couple of years, I can put in another under-17s team, a development squad, who over time become ready to go in the first team. I think one thing that this year that we've already shown and we're showing this Saturday is the women playing on the pitch. That's a massive step for the club. It's not as easy as us playing on there every week, unfortunately. There is SGSA rules, there's a lot of costs that go to it. We have to run it like a men's game. It's an EFL pitch now, it's not just any old pitch. We can't go on it every week, unfortunately, and that is where we're at with that. But the club have been very supportive over this weekend, allowing us to be on the pitch, which for me is just the start of where we're going to go with the women's. This year's been massive. The Euros it's got loads of girls wanting to play football. I know loads of girls who have finished football and then thought, actually I want to get back into it. I was supposed to retire last year and I'm still playing. For me, there's so much more that we can do as a club for the girls section. I want to integrate the ladies team with the PDC in terms of having players go down there. We want them to we want our first team to be the idols for the younger kids, and we want that not just for our PDC but for all the grassroots clubs in the area. As Sarah touched on before, we're having meetings with junior league secretaries. We want to bridge that gap between us and the junior clubs, and we want them at Harrogate Town. We want players to be in and around it. We've started putting more commercial elements to it with the help of Joe. We've got Shepherd's Dog now after a game, after home games, where the home and away team go. We're trying to bring it all together, and it's something that will take time. But for me, I can't comment on what happened before I came. But for me, this is the start of where the ladies is going to go. And ask me again in 2 years' time, and hopefully I can say that we've done quite a bit.
Fingers crossed. Ladies and gents, any more questions on the floor before I go back to the emails? Stick your hand up if you've got questions with regards to things that have been said so far. No? Have a think? And we'll come back. Simon, another one for you. Do you think that the recruitment of so many players in the summer has worked? And are you happy with that recruitment, given that not many of these players are regulars? So this question.
I think quite a few are regulars, to be honest. 7 or 8 in most games are new players, and each have different settling in periods, and some are taking longer to settle in than others, but all have good intentions and want to do well. But we delayed it, but I already alluded to it earlier. We had a core that had been with us for so many years, which is quite unusual in English football, for the route they went on and for the longevity. So it was bound to happen one day in the summer. We had to make a lot of decisions, but there were lots of departures, and because of that, there were more people brought in than obviously we initially wanted. But in terms of has it worked well? Hopefully at the end of the season, players will have obviously bedded in a lot more then, and settled into the setup, to the atmosphere, to the training demands, senior football in some cases, and twice weekly games, which comes at you fast and hard, but it's something that we lay down the expectations, in the initial meetings with players, but we work together with them. We've had a few, as mentioned earlier, defeats by more than a few now, by one goal, and some in the last minute, which hurts, and it hurts all the pride of the players, and undermines confidence. So as I said already, we've got to try and lift that, and with young players as well. Sometimes it's the arm around the shoulder, but they need a bit more time. But with hard work and fitness levels rising, we're confident we can come through it.
The same person who's actually put this question down does add that the formation is chopped and changed quite a bit throughout. Obviously, as you've alluded to, with all the new players coming in, do you feel that you get to a point now where you're seeing a little bit of consistency, or you kind of got a set idea of who the starting 11 should be, or is it still more chopping?
We don't want to be doing the chop and change, because we've had a lot of success, from not chopping and changing. So it's not by design that, but you do. At times there's been a bit of a we're searching for this, and for the first time in 5-6 years, and circumstances like injuries and a loss of form, and people finding their own feet can change your idea, really. But really, people talk about philosophers, and the DNA of Harrogate is right. We're going to be aggressive with it, and we're going to be intense, and we're going to, as I say, not give people the time that they want to strut around, especially at home, and put them under pressure, really ask questions of their temperament, and we've been successful with that. So, you probably go back to what's brought you success, and that's physically demanding for the players, and that's why one of the reasons why I had to change the squad, which was aging, but now we're putting it right down to the players. Look, simple messages, this is what we've done before, look at the coverage, this is what we demand. And it takes a lot of effort, but if these players are going to make good careers, they've got to do it.
All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gents, anything that you would like to add, Simon, off the back of that? Yes, sir. Microphone is all yours, excuse me.
Yeah, what I can't understand is that first game, like Swindon Town, we won 4-1, and we had 7 new players. I was surprised. I thought, well, it takes a bit longer than the first game to gel. So what's happened since? And you said, well, they've got to gel. What about that first game? 4-1. I don't understand that we went to Crewe and lost 3-0. I thought, well, you know, I was more surprised than
Yeah.
I just wanted to know what's going wrong.
Yeah, I think, well, I think
With 7 new signings.
life's not just about, for new players, that first big game, and it's also about away at Barrow, or then you get the jubilation again of Gillingham just prior to that. But it's everybody has to go through wins and defeats at a new club to really, right, this is how the reaction is. This is what I've got to do. This is a reaction to disappointment. How you react is massive in terms of the level you're going to play at, and there's been some maturing to do of some, and the reactions are stronger now to a disappointment, because they're quite well versed recently and a few disappointments, so that they're having to grow up fast. But yeah, it was a fantastic opening game. But many teams do start well, but it's about consistency, and this is what we're demanding now, consistent intensity. And if the more we play together, and that's the gelling process, it doesn't just happen overnight, it doesn't happen just because one game is great. Yeah. Well, we had a few more shots as well. Yeah. Well, you're quite right, but there's a lot of false starts in football, and we just, like I say, it's how we keep reacting.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Any more questions, ladies and gents, as I look around the room? Hands up? Yes.
Just a really, really quick one. Obviously, you're getting loads and loads of questions tonight, and I wondered if there's anything that you would like from the fans, could each person say something that they'd like the fans to do to improve the atmosphere at the games? There is a lot of negativity with the tickets, with stewards and things like that. Is there anything that the people in the room could offer to make Harrogate succeed more?
I think the fans play a massive role for each football club, and experience at different clubs, and this club are, it's your 12th man, and it's it makes a big difference when we come out for the warm-up and there's fans there, because of all the big games in previous seasons, and I know people say, well, it's the bar, or, some things aren't quite in our control, some things are, and the intensity of our performance is within our control. We can demand people run around and react to disappointment and get up off the backside to tackle, and a strong will and our type, and because we get good responses from that, and the players get good responses from me for doing that. But in terms of an atmosphere for a player, especially probably players like we've got now, where they're trying to make an impression, trying to be loved, trying to feel accepted, and older players stepping down when they're playing in front of big crowds, the atmosphere is detected quickly, and if it's we're not living up to expectations, or then they feel the disappointment. But it's hard to fake that, for fans, and we owe it to you as a group to really get the volume going. But it's been amazing in the past when they've been warming up on the terrace, before we kicked a ball to either disappoint or please people. People have been there and they've had a ripple. And when we had the fans engagement day, the end of last season against Carlisle, we were on a sticky patch then. And to be honest, I thought, I'm not sure this is a good idea actually. nice, because everybody needs to live sometime, you know? Everybody, you know, think, oh, hang on a minute, I think we're all right. And the players went back in and came out and steamrolled Carlisle. So we'll have to do that more often, I think. But it was a nice occasion where we thought, win, lose, or draw. A bit, those days of me being, always look for the result for Sheffield Wednesday, but win, lose, or draw, I was there, you know, thank you, because he took me. But it was historical support. We're trying to do it alternatively without historical support. So maybe your kids and the PDC kids will bring their kids when they're older. So we might not benefit from all this hard work, but yeah, if you're there on Saturday, you know, if there's a good atmosphere for the players, if there's a reaction for the small things, you know, like getting up and running after and tracking back, and it's appreciated, then that really is appreciated by the players. Because the Bradford City game last year was amazing. That was the point where I thought, Bradford City away especially, I thought, look at that in the warm-up. And the players went, we said, get over there and cheer him. And everybody rose to their feet and we thought, we're a football league club. I did, honestly, I thought we felt like a football league club. And when you talk about Exeter being a small club, they are not a small club. When they go out for the warm-ups, and we've done it twice now, kind of think, ooh, you know, it's not a coliseum, but it's a wall of noise. When we had a meeting with Jordan a few weeks ago, we said, it'd be great to get you back in the Kop. Because when the Kop's empty in a warm-up and the first few, when it's drips and drabs, it does make a difference. The volume does. We always said you suck the ball into the net. But when Jordan's been back in, and the recent games, the Salford, the Bradford, it's been a good atmosphere. And I think people have really stuck by us and stuck by the mentality of the side on those occasions. And we'll be wanting for more of the same, but more goals and more wins, obviously.
Yes, sir. But actually, just while we're on the subject of atmosphere, if I could just ask you one question that I've not actually touched upon. Some people may see it as quite a trivial matter, but this one person raises the fact that the same song has been used for a while now for the teams walking out on the pitch. Have discussions taken place about using Seven Nation Army? Seven Nation Army by White Stripes is a song that you walk out to. This person has mentioned Fatboy Slim right here, right now. There's also been a suggestion, you may have seen, I think it was in the Forest Leicester game, and I know other clubs do this as well, I'm sure you guys have already seen it as well. When a team scores, is there a call maybe to help raise the atmosphere up the environment, to have a blast of music, whatever it is?
Don't do it.
No, I'm just literally saying what's there, ladies and gents. So there we go.
Fatboy Slim, that tune's decent, but some of our lads weren't even born in 1998. But it's worth a go, I'll have to have.
You're a Fatboy Slim fan.
First is the DJ.
I wanted to talk about the one of that went about fans and ground, and I think the points we were making before were about ticket prices. For the same points, we're not complaining about the ticket prices per se. We're complaining about the effect on the attendances and the effect that that's going to have on the team as well. Because small ground, and when it's half full, it's not much of a match day experience, and we want the best for the team.
Yeah, well, we need to start winning. So hopefully, you know, we'll give you that in turn will create a better atmosphere. But it's not really for me to answer about the season ticket prices or ticket prices. But we are in the same team with the same views.
I just wanted to say the way that the players interact with the crowd, and especially the kids, means so much to us. We've got 3 little boys, and they just live coming to the football. At the end of every game, win or lose, they're there with the Sharpies. They've got everyone's signature. It's just, can they get it on anything else? And you know, if it's been a bad game, we'll say, no one really wants to come and sign it. They'll be like, please. It means so much. And
said that actually, you know, we stood in front of the lads recently and said, just got to remember what you were like at 8 and 9, turn 8 and 9, you know, and when the lads went to the PDC, they were a bit sheepish, because actually they're a lovely group of lads, and they're all from completely different backgrounds. Some have had hard take in their lives, you know, lost parents, you know, so they've got quite some stories. But when they went to play the band, so how did you feel? Oh, well, once she sort of nudged me in to look at the little faces, they're like, I felt like a bit of a Premier League player. And it was great for their self-esteem to know that actually they belong to a club where we've got some kids running around in Harrogate town tops, and it feels proper then. But we do encourage the lads to go across the side. And it's hard to, when a player's walking off and they've been beaten last minute, to go, oh, now I'm around you and say, you're not finished yet. But we do know what it means, because I remember what it meant for me, and like starstruck.
One match, it was a defeat, but Lewis Richards was walking off the field, and he'd lost a couple of studs on his boots, and our little boy was just like screaming for him. And he came over and gave him his boots, and they are, and like, you know, he burst into tears. He couldn't believe he still can't believe it. We were telling him the next game that Richards wasn't going to be able to play because he'd got his boots, and he was just like, no, I'll give him them back, how can I? It just means the world. So,
that's brilliant. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gents, any further questions that you would like to put to the panel? Right, well, what we'll do is, as we wind it up, we'll go down the line, starting with your good self here, if we can. I know we've not had much chat about the Community Foundation, but there's some fantastic things taking place. So, would you like to add to anything that's been said tonight, or anything that you guys have got coming up?
Yeah, just on what Simon said there, the players have been in schools this week. We spoke to the players as a Community Foundation the week before last, and just outlined what it means to have the players as role models, engaging with people. We talked about eye contact with fans, embracing people, looking around, taking it in. But yeah, we had players in local schools this week. We'll continue to do that. It's really important. In terms of the Community Foundation, probably quite similar to the last few years. We're really focused on our objectives. So it's increased health and well-being. We're trying to bring people together, and we're trying to enhance people's life chances. I think the relationship with the club, we're getting a lot stronger now. We're doing more and more together, and you know, that'll start bearing fruit. I do think that if everyone can really help, we're going to try and get new people, new fans, new supporters. So if you do see maybe people who have never been to the stadium before, there are new fans, there are new people who we want to get on side, who we want to bring into our family. So I just say, take that extra effort. We're the ones who go out in the community with the badge. We're really proud and passionate, and we'll keep on doing that. There are some things on the tables there, so a little bit around what the foundation does. You might see this Planet League. So this is something to do with environmental sustainability. I think we're 18th in the Planet League at the moment, but there are so many teams out there, but we're doing really well, and you can score goals for Harrogate Town. So yeah, it's really fun to get involved in with your family, but thank you for your support. If you see the badge out there, you know, that's a bonus, and just keep on talking to people. We're proud to be town, and if there's anything that we can do in the Community Foundation, any ideas you've got for programmes, please contact me anytime, and we're happy to help.
Brilliant stuff. Hannah, would you like to add anything that hasn't already been said this evening?
Just as obviously in my new role, most of you will know me, but you know, if anyone has any issues on the match day, you know, just come and find me and email me, you know, or just give us a call. I do believe, you know, that the club will increase the attendances this season. There's so much going on behind the scenes in interacting grassroots football, and it's just all these initiatives that we're we're working on, together. We all want the same thing, I'm passionate about building this the crowd. People, I keep telling Simon and Irving, I do believe that, there's no reason why we can't get over, 2,800, 3,000 a game. I've lived in Harrogate long enough to believe that, there is the supporters out there. We just got to get out there, and grab hold of them and reach them. And with the work going on, I do firmly believe that, we'll be at a point where, we'll be in a better position, obviously on the field, off the field. This is the first, I said to Sarah, this is probably the biggest attendance we've had for a fans forum, which is good. And moving forward, we will be doing more of these, more interactions with the fans. But if anyone has any ideas, you talked about coming out and with players coming out to a different song, or anything that you can think that will improve the match day experience. Just come and find us, send us an email, let's talk about it, discuss it. We're open, we're honest, and we just really, want to improve things. It's exciting. It's exciting for me in my new role. I've been at the club now for well over 15 years, so I've been through the bad times and the good times. It's just you get to a point where sometimes your fans will we're not getting results and things like that. There's always a reason why we do things. So if, like I said, if you don't agree with things, or you think you can always ask a question, why do we do that? Is there a reason why we do that? More than likely, there'll be an answer to that. And some of the reasons, the answers you will not, fully understand in terms of the conditions or the legal things we have to abide by. But, just come and talk to us, you come to the shop or send, we're here to help. And, we want to, engage with you, get all your ideas together, and move forward. I do believe, that the family ethos of the club, and that's something I particularly be, hoping to, to get more families into the ground and make that match day experience, special for them as well. And it's down to you guys, to give us the feedback, to let us know, where we can go, where we're going, and how we can improve things. So, it's down to us as well. You guys have got a very, very important role to play as well.
Thank you, Hamill. Abby, anything to add further? Or we'll just keep going down the line?
I think it's just reiterating pretty much what Hamill said. I think one thing that I think everyone has to remember is we all want the same thing. All of us sat on this panel want what you guys want. We want the club to do as well as it can. We want it to go as far as it can. Some things take time, but please just be patient with us. If you want an answer, ask us. We're very, very open. Easy access to us, and I think for me it's just about being patient with us and realising that we do want the best for the club, all of us. There's not one person who works for the club who wants anything bad for the club, so please just remember that.
And Simon, Irving and Sarah, what would you like to say to the fans in this room tonight?
I agree with Abby.
That's the concise answer that I was looking for, Simon, because we're all thinking, great.
We're sat on this table, but behind us, that aren't here tonight, they're just Paul Thurwell, Dave Riley is at the back there, Joe's over there. This team are a bit precious, and it hurts when we lose. It hurts when things don't go right. But there's a lot of spirit in this all-together squad. It's not just about the players, it's about everybody in the club. Thank you for coming tonight.
Ladies and gents, thank you so much. Thank you for the questions thank you for the questions you asked this evening. Keep emailing, keep communicating, and here's to a win. Fingers crossed this weekend against Hartlepool. Enjoy the match.